Imagine this. You see her across the room, the one you've been thinking about all day. Maybe she's with friends. Maybe she's on her phone. Maybe she hasn't even noticed you yet. And here's the thing. Most men freeze. They overthink, panic, or try some line they saw on a meme, and it fails miserably. Now, what if I told you that it doesn't have to be that way? That you can walk up to almost any woman, even the one who seems completely uninterested, and make her notice you. Not through cheesy lines, not through pretending to be someone you're not, but by doing a few key things right. Things that almost no man actually knows. Here's the truth most guys won't admit. Attraction isn't about looks. Sure, appearance matters, but only to a point. What really draws women in is energy, confidence, and presence. It's about the subtle things, how you carry yourself, how you speak, the way you make her feel in the first few seconds. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today. Why now? Because hesitation is expensive. Every day you wait, every time you overthink, you lose opportunities. Opportunities with women who could be intrigued, interested, even excited to talk to you. And the worst part? Most advice out there is garbage. Pickup lines, manipulation techniques, or outdated rules that don't work in real life. Today, we're cutting through all of that. In this video, you're going to learn exactly how to approach a woman, spark her curiosity, connect emotionally, and leave a lasting impression, even if she seemed uninterested at first. You'll discover the psychological triggers that make women naturally attracted to confident men, and how to use them without ever coming off desperate or fake. By the time we're done, you'll see approaching women in a completely new light. You won't just learn what to do, you'll understand why it works and how to make it second nature. No gimmicks, no awkward scripts, just real, practical strategies that you can use the very next time you walk into a room. So if you're ready to stop being invisible and start commanding attention effortlessly, stay with me. The steps I'm about to share are going to change the way you approach women forever. And trust me, once you master this, your confidence, your presence, and your results with women will be on a completely different level. 1. The psychology of first impressions. Let's start with something most guys completely underestimate. First impressions. You've heard it before. People make judgments in the first few seconds. But here's the thing. When it comes to women, those first 3 to 5 seconds can completely determine whether she's intrigued or indifferent. And the crazy part? Most men fail before they even open their mouth. Think about it. You walk into a room, slouched shoulders, eyes on the floor, tense body, nervous energy radiating. What do you think she sees? Not a confident, attractive man. She sees hesitation, insecurity, a guy who might be interesting but probably isn't worth her time. Now imagine the exact opposite. You walk in with your shoulders back, a relaxed smile, and calm energy. You make subtle eye contact. Your posture shows you're comfortable in your own skin. Suddenly, even before a word is said, she's paying attention. This isn't magic. It's psychology. Humans are wired to pick up on energy and presence. Women are especially sensitive to it. They don't just notice what you say, they notice how you carry yourself, how confident you are, and how calm you appear. And here's the key. Even a woman who seemed uninterested can start paying attention if you project the right energy from the very first moment. Let me give you a real-world example. I once saw a guy approach a woman at a coffee shop. He walked over, slouched, muttered a hi, and instantly got brushed off. Same guy, same day. He straightened his posture, relaxed his shoulders, smiled naturally, and said the same hi. The difference? She immediately smiled back, leaned in, and engaged in conversation. Posture, energy, and presence changed everything. So, what does this mean for you? First impressions are your secret weapon. It's not about being perfect or saying the perfect line. It's about showing her through your presence that you're confident, relaxed, and interesting. Small things make a huge difference. Keep your shoulders relaxed but back. Make subtle, confident eye contact. Smile naturally, not forced. Walk with purpose, not hesitation. Even your voice matters. Speak slightly slower, lower, and clearly. Avoid filler words or rushing. Confidence is heard as much as it is seen. Remember, the goal isn't to impress her immediately. The goal is to intrigue her enough to want to continue the interaction. A strong first impression opens the door and everything else will cover. Approach, intrigue, emotional connection builds on it. 2. Approaching without fear or awkwardness. Now that you understand how important first impressions are, it's time to tackle something almost every man struggles with: approaching women without fear or awkwardness. Let's be honest, most guys freeze. They overthink, rehearse lines, or convince themselves they'll be rejected before they even say a word. And that fear, it's obvious. Women feel it, even subconsciously, and it kills attraction instantly. Here's the first secret. Fear is normal, but it doesn't have to control you. Every man gets nervous. What separates successful men is how they handle that nervous energy. Instead of letting it shrink you, you use it to power your presence and confidence. Think of it like this. Fear is just adrenaline. Channel it into calm energy, good posture, and confident movement. Start small. You don't need to jump straight into deep conversations. Warm up with micro approaches, a smile, casual eye contact, a nod, or even a short comment about your surroundings. This builds comfort and reduces tension before the real approach. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're at a coffee shop. Instead of marching up and saying, "Hi, I think you're beautiful," start with something subtle. Maybe a light comment about the drink she ordered or the book she's reading. Keep it natural. Observe her reaction. Smile. If she responds positively, that's your green light. If she doesn't, no sweat. You've practiced managing your fear without embarrassment, and you can move on without ruining your energy. Here's another key. Focus on curiosity, not outcome. Most men approach women thinking, "I need her to like me," or "I need to get her number." That pressure is visible, and it's a major turnoff. Instead, approach thinking, "I'm genuinely curious about her," or "I wonder what kind of person she is." That shift instantly reduces nervous energy, makes your conversation more authentic, and increases attraction naturally. Voice matters too. Speak slightly slower, relaxed, and clearly. Avoid filler words like or Keep your tone confident but not aggressive. Your voice communicates far more than the words themselves. And remember, rejection isn't personal. Even if she isn't interested, the way you handle it can actually increase her attraction. Walk away with calm confidence. No sulking, no awkward fumbling. That's how you demonstrate emotional strength, one of the most attractive qualities you can project. So, in summary, start small, use micro approaches, focus on curiosity instead of outcomes, manage your nervous energy, and speak with calm confidence. Fear is inevitable, but awkwardness is optional. Next, we'll take this one step further and talk about creating instant intrigue, so even women who seemed uninterested at first start leaning in. This is where attraction really starts to build. 3. Creating instant intrigue. Now that you've learned how to approach without fear, it's time to move into something that separates average interactions from magnetic ones, creating instant intrigue. This is the stage where you grab her attention, spark curiosity, and make her want to know more about you, even if she initially seemed uninterested. Here's the secret. Women are naturally drawn to mystery, playfulness, and uniqueness. If your conversation is predictable, boring, or purely polite, you're blending in with every other guy she sees. But if you introduce a small element of intrigue, suddenly you're interesting, and interesting men get noticed. One simple way to do this is through observational comments. Instead of opening with a generic line, comment on something specific about her environment or behavior, but do it lightly and playfully. For example, maybe she's reading a book. Don't say, "nice book." Say something like, "That looks intense. Are you the type to finish it in a day or savor it chapter by chapter?" It's small, playful, and invites engagement. Humor is another powerful tool, not stand-up comedy level jokes, just subtle, confident wit. Maybe something about the situation around you or a light tease about her coffee order. The goal isn't to be a comedian, it's to create a spark that makes her smile and lean in. Here's a story. I once saw a guy approach a woman in a bookstore. Instead of saying, "Hi," he casually commented on a book she was holding. "I see someone else has questionable taste in thrillers." She laughed, looked up, and immediately engaged. That tiny bit of playful intrigue completely changed her perception. She went from neutral to interested in seconds. Another way to build intrigue is through controlled self-disclosure. Share a small, unusual detail about yourself, something that makes her think, he's interesting. I want to know more. Maybe it's a hobby, a travel story, or even a quirky personal experience. The key is subtlety. Don't overshare or brag. Just plant the seed of curiosity. And here's the most important part. Intrigue works best when paired with calm confidence. Don't over-explain yourself, don't apologize for being playful, and don't rush to fill silences. Give her space to react. Her curiosity will do the rest. Remember, the goal here isn't to win her over immediately, it's to make her want to continue interacting. Intrigue is the magnet that pulls her in, creating a sense of tension and interest that keeps the conversation alive. Next, once you've sparked intrigue, the real connection begins. That's where emotional connection comes into play, the step that turns attraction into something deeper and meaningful. 4. Emotional connection that builds attraction. Now that you've sparked her curiosity and grabbed her attention, it's time to turn intrigue into real attraction, and that's where emotional connection comes in. Attraction isn't just about looking good or being playful, it's about making a woman feel something. The more you make her feel, the more drawn she becomes. Here's the key. Women are naturally drawn to men who make them feel understood, appreciated, and alive. And this doesn't mean over-the-top gestures or cheesy compliments. It means genuine engagement. Listen to what she says, notice her expressions, and respond in a way that shows you actually care about what she's thinking and feeling. Let's break this down. Suppose she tells you about a hobby she loves or a recent trip. Instead of nodding politely and moving on, engage. Ask follow-up questions. Share a short story of your own that relates or lightly tease in a playful way. This shows that you're present, attentive, and interesting all at once. Here's a story to illustrate. A friend of mine approached a woman at a music festival. She started talking about her favorite band, and instead of just agreeing, he asked about her first concert experience and shared a funny story from his own. By the end of 5 minutes, she was laughing, leaning in, and clearly enjoying the interaction. What made it work? He connected emotionally, made her feel understood, and added a touch of his own personality. Another crucial aspect is vulnerability, but controlled vulnerability. You don't need to pour out your life story, but sharing a small personal detail, like a challenge you overcame, a funny childhood memory, or a unique passion, creates a subtle bond. Women sense authenticity, and authenticity builds attraction faster than any line or routine ever could. Body language also supports emotional connection. Mirror her energy subtly, lean slightly forward when she's speaking, and maintain relaxed, open posture. This signals that you're engaged and approachable, reinforcing the emotional link. And remember, emotional connection isn't about rushing. You don't need to force intimacy in the first conversation. Even small moments, laughing together, sharing opinions, or noticing her energy, create a sense of closeness that lingers. A woman who feels this connection, even briefly, will be much more receptive to your presence, even if she was initially uninterested. So, emotional connection is about making her feel something meaningful while staying confident and relaxed. It turns curiosity into genuine interest and lays the foundation for deeper attraction. Next, once that connection is established, it's time to escalate attraction subtly, the step that shifts her interest from friendly engagement to magnetic pull. 5. The power of subtle escalation. Now that you've built emotional connection, it's time to take attraction to the next level. This is where most men make mistakes. They either rush things, becoming pushy, or they stay too neutral, and the spark dies. The key is subtle escalation, a gentle but deliberate increase in attraction that feels natural, not forced. Subtle escalation is all about creating tension and chemistry without pressure. Think of it as a dance. Every action you take should slightly raise her interest and engagement without making her uncomfortable. You don't need grand gestures. In fact, small intentional moves are far more effective. Let's start with playful teasing. Teasing is one of the oldest and most powerful tools in attraction. A light, witty comment about something she says or does creates playful tension and keeps the interaction lively. For example, if she mentions she's obsessed with a TV show, you might say, "I didn't know people your age still watch that." Delivered with a smile and casual tone, it sparks amusement and intrigue. Another element is light, appropriate touch. This could be a tap on the shoulder, a brief touch on the arm during laughter, or guiding her gently through a doorway. The touch should be natural and confident, never awkward or invasive. Subtle physical contact reinforces connection and signals attraction without saying a word. Your tone and body language are equally important. Slightly leaning in while she speaks, maintaining calm, steady eye contact, and keeping your posture relaxed conveys interest and confidence. Avoid overthinking gestures. They should flow naturally from your comfort level and the energy of the interaction. Here's a story to illustrate. A guy I know met a woman at a bookstore. He started with light teasing about her choice of novels, shared a funny anecdote about his own reading habits, and casually touched her arm when laughing. Over 10 minutes, her body language shifted. She leaned in, mirrored his movements, and her attention was fully on him. Subtle escalation turned a casual encounter into magnetic interaction. Another powerful tool is verbal escalation through playful challenges or questions. Ask questions that invite her to express opinions or react to fun hypotheticals. For example, if you could drop everything and travel anywhere tomorrow, where would you go? It creates curiosity, opens emotional windows, and makes her mentally invested in the interaction. Remember, the goal of subtle escalation isn't to manipulate, it's to build attraction naturally. By increasing tension slowly, staying confident, and using playful cues, you make her feel drawn to you without pressure. Women notice confidence and emotional control, and subtle escalation is one of the most effective ways to demonstrate both. Next, we'll cover a step that almost every man ignores but changes everything, signaling high value without bragging, the secret to making women respect and desire you simultaneously. 6. Signaling high value without bragging. Now that you've learned subtle escalation, it's time to master something most men completely miss: signaling high value without bragging. Attraction isn't just about being funny, confident, or emotionally engaging. It's about demonstrating that you are a man of worth, a man who commands respect, and a man who naturally stands out from the crowd. Here's the thing. Women are wired to notice high-value men, but they're repelled by obvious bragging. Saying, "I make 6 figures," or "I travel all the time," isn't attractive. It's desperate. The real skill is showing your value through actions, presence, and subtle cues. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through stories that demonstrate competence or skill. For example, if she asks about your hobbies, you don't need to say, "I'm amazing at it." Instead, tell a short, engaging story that naturally shows your skill. Maybe you mention a hiking trip where you navigated a difficult trail, or a project you completed that challenged you. The story reveals competence without arrogance. Another way is through social proof. Women are drawn to men who are respected and liked by others. This doesn't mean bragging about friends or status. It means subtly demonstrating that you are socially competent. For instance, being polite and friendly to people around you while staying confident shows that others value your presence, which in turn signals high value. Body language and presence also play a huge role. High-value men carry themselves with calm, deliberate energy. Your posture, relaxed gestures, and confident voice all communicate that you are comfortable in your own skin. Even without speaking, women can sense this, and it subconsciously increases their attraction. Here's a real-world example. A friend of mine met a woman at a gallery. Instead of talking about his achievements directly, he shared a story about how he learned photography while traveling alone. He laughed at the mistakes he made, showed his passion, and maintained calm confidence. By the end of their conversation, she was drawn to him, not because he bragged, but because his story demonstrated skill, independence, and personality naturally. Another tip is subtle exclusivity. High-value men don't chase approval. They set boundaries and have standards. You can show this by confidently steering the interaction, expressing your opinions honestly, and not bending to please her. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect, and it's highly attractive. Finally, remember that high value isn't just what you do, but how you do it. Approach every interaction with confidence, curiosity, and energy that conveys worth. Your goal is to make her feel that being around you is interesting, fun, and enriching without ever saying it outright. Next, once you've demonstrated your value, it's time for the final step, leaving a lasting impression, the subtle action that makes her remember you long after the conversation ends. 7. Leaving a lasting impression. Now that you've mastered approach, intrigue, emotional connection, subtle escalation, and signaling high value, it's time for the final piece of the puzzle, leaving a lasting impression. This is what turns a brief encounter into something she remembers, thinks about, and wants to see again. The key principle here is simple. Women don't just remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. If you leave an interaction with energy, intrigue, and confidence, even a woman who seemed uninterested will find herself replaying the moment in her mind. That's the magic of a lasting impression. One way to do this is through memorable parting lines or gestures. You don't need to overdo it, just a light comment that hints at continued intrigue. For example, if you've been joking and connecting throughout the conversation, you could say something like, "I hope I didn't scare you off with my terrible coffee taste," with a smile. It leaves her laughing, curious, and remembering your personality. Another critical element is confidence in your exit. Walking away confidently, rather than lingering or looking back nervously, sends a strong signal. You value your own presence. This is hugely attractive because it reinforces that you are a high-value man who isn't dependent on her approval. Even if she was hesitant or uninterested before, seeing you leave with calm confidence can spark post-interaction curiosity. Body language during the exit matters too. Keep your posture upright, shoulders relaxed, and energy calm. A brief wave, light smile, or nod reinforces friendliness while maintaining your presence. These small, deliberate cues are what make interactions memorable. You can also leave her with a subtle sense of mystery. You don't need to spill everything about yourself in the first encounter. Ending the interaction while leaving a hint of your personality, humor, or unique experiences keeps her thinking about you later. Mystery combined with genuine connection is one of the most powerful ways to ensure she remembers you. Here's an example. A man I know met a woman at a cafe. Their conversation flowed naturally, with light teasing, stories, and laughter. As he left, he said confidently, "I'll let you enjoy your book before I distract you further," smiled, and walked away without hesitation. She immediately remembered him, laughed at his comment later, and even mentioned hoping to run into him again. That small, confident exit created lasting impact. Finally, remember that leaving a lasting impression isn't just about techniques. It's about consistency. If every step you've learned, from approach to intrigue to high-value signaling, is executed naturally, the final impression compounds all previous attraction. The result? Even women who are initially uninterested will be drawn to your energy, confidence, and presence. With this, you now have the complete roadmap. Approach fearlessly, spark intrigue, connect emotionally, escalate subtly, demonstrate value, and leave an unforgettable impression. Master these, and your interactions with women will never be the same. 7. Leaving a lasting impression. Now that you've mastered approach, intrigue, emotional connection, subtle escalation, and signaling high value, it's time for the final piece of the puzzle, leaving a lasting impression. This is what turns a brief encounter into something she remembers, thinks about, and wants to see again. The key principle here is simple. Women don't just remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. If you leave an interaction with energy, intrigue, and confidence, even a woman who seemed uninterested will find herself replaying the moment in her mind. That's the magic of a lasting impression. One way to do this is through memorable parting lines or gestures. You don't need to overdo it, just a light comment that hints at continued intrigue. For example, if you've been joking and connecting throughout the conversation, you could say something like, "I hope I didn't scare you off with my terrible coffee taste," with a smile. It leaves her laughing, curious, and remembering your personality. Another critical element is confidence in your exit. Walking away confidently rather than lingering or looking back nervously sends a strong signal. You value your own presence. This is hugely attractive because it reinforces that you are a high-value man who isn't dependent on her approval. Even if she was hesitant or uninterested before, seeing you leave with calm confidence can spark post-interaction curiosity. Body language during the exit matters too. Keep your posture upright, shoulders relaxed, and energy calm. A brief wave, light smile, or nod reinforces friendliness while maintaining your presence. These small, deliberate cues are what make interactions memorable. You can also leave her with a subtle sense of mystery. You don't need to spill everything about yourself in the first encounter. Ending the interaction while leaving a hint of your personality, humor, or unique experiences keeps her thinking about you later. Mystery combined with genuine connection is one of the most powerful ways to ensure she remembers you. Here's an example. A man I know met a woman at a cafe. Their conversation flowed naturally, with light teasing, stories, and laughter. As he left, he said confidently, "I'll let you enjoy your book before I distract you further," smiled, and walked away without hesitation. She immediately remembered him, laughed at his comment later, and even mentioned hoping to run into him again. That small, confident exit created lasting impact. Finally, remember that leaving a lasting impression isn't just about techniques, it's about consistency. If every step you've learned, from approach to intrigue to high-value signaling, is executed naturally, the final impression compounds all previous attraction. The result? Even women who were initially uninterested will be drawn to your energy, confidence, and presence. With this, you now have the complete roadmap. Approach fearlessly, spark intrigue, connect emotionally, escalate subtly, demonstrate value, and leave an unforgettable impression. Master these, and your interactions with women will never be the same.